Welcome to the XTO Field Safety Orientation. At XTO, we're dedicated to safety while maximizing our contributions to ExxonMobil and the oil and gas industry. By joining our team, you play an important role in providing reliable and affordable energy to a world that's continually demanding more. There are many risks that we encounter every day while working in our industry. Some of these could cause significant injury, or even death to ourselves or members of our team if not managed appropriately. XTO leadership and employees are all relentlessly committed to ensuring that every person that sets foot on our site goes home safely to their families and loved ones. This orientation is designed to give you a broad, high-level overview of safety information and expectations when working on an XTO Energy site location. This video is not meant to train or authorize workers to perform specific tasks. If you are visiting any site or if you are performing work at an XTO Energy location, it is essential that you fully read and understand the XTO Safety Handbook. In this video, we will discuss the following: managing high-risk activities, process safety, the work management system, stop work authority, life-saving rules, safe choice, qualifications and training, and contractor interface. XTO uses our Operations Integrity Management System to identify and manage risks. We will present the relevant aspects of that system during this video with a focus on providing you with knowledge to keep everyone on location safe. From all of us at XTO, we thank you for the work that you do each day. It takes a commitment by all employees and contractors to maintain a safe workplace so that everyone can go home safely every day. Supervisors, whether employee or contractor, must be accountable for safety on their work sites. XTO Energy has designated a person in charge, or PIC, at every site and work area. Everyone is expected to interface daily with the PIC. It is your responsibility when arriving on any XTO worksite to locate and make contact with the PIC. The PIC makes sure everyone on site understands who the PIC is for their site, what risks they may encounter, and when work authorization is required. Work authorization can never be given by anyone but an XTO representative. Remember, any change in work scope or risk requires new work authorization. The PIC will be the on-site person with the most information about the job and tasks being performed. PIC roles can be held by XTO representatives or contractors on site, but work authorization can only be given by XTO representatives. This person must be on site. If this person needs to leave the site, the PIC role must be passed to another person on location. The PIC leads by example and verifies life-saving rules are authorized and followed. Stop work authority is used. Key personnel are competent. New personnel are supervised. Correct equipment is in place and in working order. If you arrive at an unmanned XTO Energy location where no activity is occurring, you are expected to contact and coordinate your objectives with the XTO site representative for that geographical area. Process safety. We work in a business where we interface daily with hydrocarbons that are pressurized, extremely flammable, and sometimes toxic. We also use acids and other chemicals which can be hazardous to one's health if inhaled or absorbed through the skin. We must do everything in our power to prevent these hydrocarbons and hazardous chemicals from escaping their primary containment. Process safety is the combination of people, processes, and equipment working together to keep our produced gases and liquids contained in the pipeline, tank, or other equipment as designed. We care about process safety because release of fluids from containment can lead to fires, explosions, personnel injuries, environmental impact, and injury to the public. The process safety bow tie diagram is one tool XTO Energy uses to ensure safeguards are in place that prevent process safety incidents. We should always strive for the best case outcome, but plan for the worst case scenario. Drills will be performed daily for higher risk operations to ensure the safeguards and barriers are sustainable. If you have any questions or concerns, contact your XTO PIC or stop work to manage immediate risks. The work management system. Work management focuses on our life-saving rules and requires work authorization, which we need to obtain prior to executing jobs that could get people seriously injured or killed. We'll define life-saving rules later in the video. The work management system centers on the concepts of planning, preparation, execution, and closeout. These steps are clearly outlined on the Job Safety Analysis, or JSA, available in paper or digital format. These are tools that must be used when executing work that involves a life-saving rule. Planning includes pre-planning, JSA completion, and review. Preparation is work authorization and final review of the JSA. Execution is doing the work and can include LMRAs and work interrupters. Closeout is the closeout of the JSA, making sure tools are restored to their proper location, recording if anyone was hurt on the job, and adding a post-job description of what went well or what needs improvement. While tools like the JSA help guide you through the required process, it is essential to note that high-quality conversations and engagements between the work requester and the work authorizer are required and are critical to identifying and preventing accidents on site. Take strategic breaks to review the JSA throughout the day. Ensure that the work scope has not changed, and use it to orient newcomers to the site. If the work scope does change during the job, it is a requirement that the JSA should be updated, re-communicated, and reauthorized with the work authorizer. Closeout discussions and documentation are required at the end of the shift. Stop work authority is the right, responsibility, and obligation of personnel to stop work when unsafe conditions or behaviors are witnessed. XTO holds all personnel responsible to exercise stop work authority when unsafe conditions or actions are observed. Last-minute risk assessments work in conjunction with stop work authority to help stop and identify risks, think through the hazards, and take appropriate action. Life-saving rules. In our industry, a number of people have lost their lives or sustained life-altering injuries. We have developed life-saving rules to ensure that all of our workers are aware of higher risk activities that have and continue to lead to deaths and serious injuries. Work authorization and safe work practices apply to all life-saving rules to manage risk. It is essential that an XTO designated work authorizer authorizes all work involving life-saving rules. The only exceptions are with line of fire and driving, which are commonly present in day-to-day work activities. Because these two activities are so common, line of fire and driving do not require separate authorization unless they are incorporated within another life-saving rule. Workers must not execute the work without achieving proper work authorization and must follow safe work practices. Safe work practices include the XTO Energy Safety Handbook, applicable standard operating procedures or SOPs, and state and federal laws. Line of fire. Each day we all face line of fire situations, especially on the work site. The most critical thing to consider regarding line of fire is being aware of your surroundings. Prior to starting and throughout a given work task, establish and adhere to barriers and no-go zones, and avoid walking under any work being performed. If you observe any coworkers placing themselves in the line of fire, immediately engage with them to ensure they move to a safe location or stop the work. Remember that most of our locations can have multiple work activities going on at the same time. Pay close attention to moving objects, rotating equipment, and vehicles moving around each location. If you're working around mobile equipment, establish and maintain eye contact with mobile equipment operators while keeping a safe distance. While you're working around pressurized equipment or stored energy, it is also critical to pay close attention to your body placement as well as where your coworkers are positioned. As you open containment, make sure that your hands and body are out of the way from the sudden release of pressure. This includes paying attention to the momentum you have while operating any tools with your hands. Also make sure your escape route is planned so that you're not pinned between any types of equipment. Even though you have depressurized the known pressure on any piece of equipment that you're working with, remember to never trust zero pressure on a gauge. Conduct a last-minute risk assessment to maintain situational awareness at all times. Energy isolation. Stored energy is found in and around most of the equipment we work around on a given day. Energy isolation is the act of locking and tagging, verifying and demonstrating a state of zero energy prior to starting work. When energy sources are not properly secured, people can be injured, or damage to the environment or property can occur. When you are isolating energy on any XTO site, remember to identify all energy sources, verify zero energy, and achieve work authorization, perform work safely, and return energy sources to their normal operating state if authorized to do so. High-risk electrical work involves work on live electrical systems. It includes activities with the potential for individuals to come into contact with energized electrical components of 300 volts or greater, or to be exposed to high temperatures or flashes resulting from electrical arcing or electrical fault conditions. Only qualified and authorized workers can work on or near exposed or energized parts of electrical equipment operating at voltages of 50 volts or more to ground. Significant risks can be encountered both for overhead power line work and non-overhead power line work. Overhead power line work includes but is not limited to overhead power line crossings, installing an overhead power line across a public road, rail, or waterway, conducting work within 10 feet of an energized overhead power line, or energizing a new or existing overhead power line. Non-overhead power line electrical work includes working within the NFPA 70E minimum approach distance or working within the arc flash boundary. Hot work. Hot work involves welding, cutting, and grinding while working within 35 feet of a potentially flammable atmosphere. It also involves operating vehicles, using non-intrinsically safe tools, or impact sockets when working within 10 feet of a potentially flammable atmosphere. Other flammable atmospheric areas may include production facilities, pipeline connections and valves, wellheads, rig structures, tanks, and hydrocarbon transportation vehicles. A hot work permit must be completed prior to executing hot work. Confined space. Confined space entry takes place when a worker can place any part of his or her body into a space that is large enough for them to fully enter. The space has limited or restricted means of entry or exit, and the space is not designed for continuous human occupancy. Storage tanks, mud pits, well cellars, process vessels, pipelines, and trenches greater than or equal to 4 feet in depth are examples of confined spaces. A confined space permit must be completed prior to executing work. Personnel must be properly trained by their company and have work and permits authorized by an XTO superintendent before any personnel begin work or enter the space. If the space becomes unsafe due to atmospheric conditions or other hazards, all personnel must immediately evacuate the space. When work is completed, the permitted space must be returned to normal operating conditions. Working at heights. Working at heights involves work performed at heights greater than or equal to 4 feet, where engineered railing systems do not exist. Personal fall arrest systems must be worn when working at heights greater than or equal to 4 feet. This includes working inside personnel lifts. When working at heights, you must complete the following preparations. Establish no-go zones beneath the area where people are working to reduce the likelihood of tools or equipment striking personnel below. Tether tools and equipment. Make sure you have a rescue plan in place before working at heights. Safe mechanical lifting. Safe mechanical lifting applies to work involving cranes, forklifts, winches, and excavation equipment. Personnel operating these types of equipment must be properly trained by their company. Use only certified rigging, slings, chains, shackles, etc. For critical lifts, a plan must be developed and approved by the person in charge prior to executing the work. Critical lift plans are required for the following: lifting over pressurized equipment, lifting personnel with a crane, performing blind lifts, performing tandem lifts, exceeding 80% of the crane's load capacity associated with angles and boom length. All lifts must be performed hands-free and taglines properly used where needed. While using taglines, remember to let the machine do all of the work for you. You are there to help guide the lifted equipment into its place, but you should never be struggling to move the load. Excavation and trenching. Excavation and trenching applies to any work where the surface of the ground is disturbed. This includes tasks such as pipeline trenching and digging post holes. Prior to opening any excavation or trench, utilities and underground installations that may be encountered must be located and marked. Striking a pipeline or electric line can cause serious injury or even death. While performing any type of excavation and trenching task, it is important to remember the following. The excavating company is responsible for executing the state one-call request and ensuring the one call has been responded to and is considered active by the state. If a buried pipeline or energized electric line is struck, immediately contact your XTO Energy representative. If in doubt, stop work. No overhead equipment is permitted within 10 feet of energized power lines rated 50 kV or below, unless specifically qualified or authorized. The XTO Energy designated PIC must approve excavation work daily and in person. Bypassing safety controls. Bypassing safety controls occurs when a critical device, sometimes known as a safety control, or a critical system is taken out of service while the equipment or facility being protected remains operational. Work authorization must be completed prior to fully executing the bypass. Other alternatives should be assessed prior to bypassing a critical device. Examples of critical devices are safety detection systems, an emergency shutdown or ESD activation point, critical alarms such as H2S, LEL, fire, or abandoned facility lights and horns, well, surface, and subsurface valves and controls, limit switches on lifting equipment, pressure safety valves or PSVs, and rupture discs where no redundancy exists, isolation valves on control or safety systems. Driving. Driving is one of the most hazardous tasks we execute on a daily basis, regardless of whether you're driving on a personal vehicle, to and from work, or driving around a work site. When you are driving, there are many variables that can be changing at the same time, and some of them are completely out of your control. Doing the following can reduce the chance of being in a vehicle crash or reduce the severity of injury. Seatbelts are required to be worn by all occupants in the vehicle. This includes for mobile equipment that is equipped with seatbelts like forklifts, backhoes, and cranes on any location. Drive for road conditions. Every company location may have different speed limits because of road conditions. Pay attention to what the speed limit is for that location and don't exceed it. Do not use your mobility device while driving and manage other in-vehicle distractions. Ensure you are fit for duty, rested, and fully alert when driving. If you are driving to multiple locations, plan your route. While on company locations, make every effort to make your first move forward. Utilize spotters when backing equipment up or moving in tight spaces. Comply with the company alcohol and drug requirements. These life-saving rules must be strictly followed to perform work at XTO Energy sites. More information can be found in the XTO Safety Handbook. It is your responsibility to read and understand the Safety Handbook. Choosing to violate any one of the life-saving rules can put your life in danger and will also lead to disciplinary action, up to and including disqualification and dismissal from XTO sites. Aside from our life-saving rules, there are other higher-risk activities that exist in our industry. No matter what operational area you work in, knowledge of operational hazards and how to manage them can save your life. Hazardous atmospheres. Hazardous atmospheres can and do exist across our operations areas. Wear the appropriate gas monitor that detects H2S, LEL, and other atmospheric hazards. Other hazards may include benzene, silica, norm, welding fumes, asbestos, and methane. Ensure your gas monitor is bump tested and calibrated prior to use and in accordance with manufacturer recommendations. Immediately evacuate the area if your gas monitor sounds, crosswind and upwind. Chemicals. XTO has a safe work practice to reference, but all personnel exposed to hazardous chemicals should follow their organization's safe work practices. The XTO supervisor or field employee on location will inform the contractor supervisor of any XTO chemical or product hazards that the contractor may be exposed to during their service on site. Information must include precautions to lessen risk of exposure, preventative measures taken by XTO to reduce exposure, location of SDSs, and emergency procedures, if exposed, and product labeling. Contractor supervisors' responsibilities include providing the XTO supervisor or field employee with an SDS for each chemical brought on site, as well as explaining work practices and PPE used to safely handle each of the contractor's chemicals brought on site. Safe choice. All XTO employees and contractors are challenged to make safe choices throughout all operations. The following 4 concepts comprise safe choice. Head before hands. Making a commitment to use your head before your hands is the foundation for making safer choices. The most valuable asset that people have to make critical decisions during low and high-risk operations is their brain. Making safe decisions. Knowledge about your personal decision-making style and recognition of when to engage in the other decision-making processes is critical to making safer choices. Decisions made can have significant impact on your safety and the business. Bias in the workplace. Bias is a preconceived opinion or thought that can impact daily decisions and jeopardize safety. Recognition of a biased mindset can improve the safety of operations. Fast versus slow thinking. Fast versus slow thinking explores how our brains move back and forth from fast thinking to slow thinking, and when each is necessary to avoid incident or exhaustion. Learning to make safer choices. Valuable experiences provide a resource to create conversation. Continuing to share lessons learned and observations are critical to continued improvement and advancement of XTO's safety culture. Last-minute risk assessment. A last-minute risk assessment should be a very simple reminder to yourself to make sure there are no considerable issues to the task that is about to be performed. There might be several times throughout the job when it is absolutely necessary to stop work and do a last-minute risk assessment. This includes at the job site prior to beginning the job, before changing tasks throughout the day, and when conditions change. Qualifications and training. It is your responsibility to maintain your competency in your current role. Your supervisor will work with you individually to make sure you have the skills, knowledge, tools, and processes to perform your job in a competent and effective way. XTO Energy expects you to fully read and understand the XTO Energy Safety Handbook. Wear the required PPE. The minimum requirements for PPE are safety glasses, hard hat, safety-toed shoes, impact gloves, fire-resistant clothing, appropriate gas detection monitors, and hearing protection. Some jobs may require additional PPE. See the XTO Safety Handbook. Hearing protection is critical when working in high-noise areas. When performing work in areas with high noise levels, please select the appropriate level of hearing protection, that is for areas with greater than or equal to 85 decibels. Remember, you may need to wear double hearing protection. You must know and understand the emergency response plans and how to enact the site-specific emergency response procedures, as well as the site muster points. You must maintain good housekeeping to prevent incidents. And it's important that you report all injuries and incidents, regardless of severity, immediately to your XTO Energy designated person in charge. For work-related injuries, a care management system must be used. Report any spills that occur during your work or that you might have driven upon to your XTO Energy designated PIC. Cell phone usage and communication devices are prohibited when operating vehicles or equipment. Obtain authorization from an XTO Energy site representative prior to taking any photos or inviting guests to a site. Do not bring contraband to work. This includes explosives, firearms, illegal weapons, drugs, and alcohol. Do not be under the influence of substances that are prohibited or that may compromise your ability to work safely. This includes some prescription medications. You and your vehicle are subject to unannounced searches for contraband when you are on XTO Energy sites. Smoking is allowed only in designated areas at any XTO site. This includes e-cigarettes. On unmanned locations, the designated area is usually around the perimeter of the site. Take all necessary precautions to ensure your own safety and the safety of others on site. This includes calling timeouts or stopping work. You have the authority and obligation to stop work. Contractor interface. XTO and the contractors working on site have aligned to meet operation integrity objectives and are creating a unified culture where safety is a value and is the only way we do our work. The XTO contractor strategic alignment in safety is where both organizations demonstrate a positive and collaborative commitment to the safety and health of all personnel on our work sites. We also work together to develop personnel with the appropriate talents and skill sets that support our operations, provide proof that personnel are certified and in compliance to operate specific pieces of mobile equipment, to maintain a very high level of transparency around safety, and to measure and hold each other accountable to the commitment we have made to the safety vision. There are risks associated with working around flammable products, pressurized piping and vessels, heavy equipment, and rotating machinery. While we know these risks are present, we are confident we can perform our work safely each and every day. What we ask of you is that you take personal responsibility for your own safety and the safety of your coworkers. We ask that you have the courage and conviction to speak up when you have a question or when you see something that doesn't look quite right. We ask that you and your teammates plan your jobs and work with purpose. As you work at XTO Energy, we hope that you see our commitment to you. As you grow in your commitment to the safety and health topics covered in this orientation, we hope that you will achieve a level of commitment that is second to none. Thank you for your attention and welcome to the team.